There are moments late at night when a man becomes something else. Not the one you see at dinner at the office or out with friends, but a version more raw, more ancient, unmasked, unguarded. A version closer to the soul than to the social self. When a man truly loves, he does not declare it with roses or promises. His love rises from the depths quiet, untamed, like a dream that refuses to be shaped by words. It is not crafted, it is revealed. Carl Jung once wrote, "Real love begins where there is no more I and only the shadow and the choice to remain." In intimacy, when the body is bare and the soul has no more hiding place, love ceases to be a noun. It becomes an act of the unconscious, a whisper from the innermost chambers of the psyche. Have you ever wondered, when a man truly loves deeply soulfully, how does he change? What is it that happens not when he says "I love you," but when he says nothing at all and just remains present? Stay with me, because in the next few minutes, we'll enter a space where the light of love seeps through the narrowest cracks, a glance, a breath, a silence. Not to judge, but to understand. Not to seek answers out there, but to hear the ancient voice within. And now we begin with the first sign, a gaze that cannot lie, the look that sees right into your soul. There is a gaze you cannot learn. You cannot fake it. It does not belong to survival instincts, nor is it the result of how to attract women techniques. It emerges from a deeper layer, from the place Carl Jung called the unconscious, the home of shadow, primal instincts, and the fragmented soul we often dare not face. In that moment, a man no longer looks at you with the eyes he uses in the outside world. He looks with the soul, and if you are present enough, something strange might stir within you. Your heart slows, your body softens, time folds in on itself. No one else is there. Only two people and something sacred in between. Jung once said, the meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. That gaze is the first chemical reaction. It is not the stare of impulsive desire or possessiveness. It is the look of a man who has walked through his own depths and dares to let someone enter. So how do you recognize this gaze? Pay attention to what the unconscious reveals. This gaze does not wander the room in search of the next witty topic. It does not scan your body like a catalog item. It pauses, truly pauses on you. No agenda, no performance, no resistance, only presence, as if you were the only thing that exists. And here's what's fascinating: men who are afraid of being seen, truly seen, cannot hold this gaze. They'll look at you and then look away. They'll crack a joke, change the subject, or disrupt the silence. Because they are afraid. They are not yet ready to let you see the parts of them still unhealed. In Jungian psychology, this is the shadow, the hidden self we try to deny. And the gaze is the window shadow fears most. But a man who loves deeply will not run. Not because he has no darkness, but because he no longer fears it. He has met himself in the mirror enough times to know true love does not demand perfection. It asks for honesty. When he holds that gaze upon you, you feel seen not for your appearance, but for the parts of you you've never dared to share, the wounds, the softness, the dreams you've never spoken aloud. And something extraordinary happens. You feel safe, not because he shields you from the world, but because he does not make you shield yourself when you're with him. This is the deeper nature of love. Jung described, love is not just attraction, it is rebirth. The other becomes a mirror not only to what you like about yourself, but also to what still needs healing. And the silence between those two gazes becomes a sacred ritual where masks fall away and the soul is allowed to come home. So next time you find yourself staring into someone's eyes, ask, what is he seeing in me? And am I allowing myself to be seen? Because love doesn't begin with a kiss. It begins with the eyes, when two souls nod to each other without words. If you've ever experienced such a gaze, one that shook you, softened you, or woke something ancient inside you, share it below. This isn't just a place to talk about love. It's a space to understand love from the soul, not the surface. No judgment, no defenses, just truth. Because when we speak from the soul, the right hearts always find each other. What's a gaze you'll never forget? And now that you understand the power of the gaze, the first sign of deep love, let's move to the second, where love becomes a living empathy. His joy lives in your joy. This isn't sacrifice. It's when two hearts begin to beat in resonance. Let's continue. There's a quiet truth we often overlook. A man who loves you deeply is not just interested in who you are. He is attuned to how you feel in every passing moment. He doesn't try to control those feelings. He doesn't wish to mold you into someone easier, nicer, or more pleasing. He tunes himself like someone listening to a piece of music they genuinely love, not just something playing to fill the silence. Carl Jung once wrote, "Where love reigns, there is no will to power. True love does not seek to dominate. It seeks to be with, to inhabit your emotional landscape with presence, not control." You will see this not in grand gestures, but in the smallest of things so subtle you might assume anyone could do them. But not everyone notices how you lean toward the sunlight by the window. Not everyone remembers that you prefer your toast a little burnt. Not everyone senses that when you fall quiet after laughing, you are drifting inward, and that a gentle touch on your shoulder is enough to say, "I see you." This is not submission. It is resonance, what Jung described as the dance between anima and animus, the feminine in him and the masculine in you, learning to move in harmony. In such a relationship, no one fights for the spotlight. Both listen for the rhythm, and they adapt not out of duty, but out of a deep emotional intelligence that says, "Your joy is my joy." This man does not ask, "What do you want to win approval?" He watches you, he listens, and he feels with his whole being. When you laugh at something small, his eyes light up. When you shrink into yourself, he may simply place a hand on your back. Not out of obligation, but because something within him knows. And if he touches you, you don't feel invaded. You feel welcome. Now here's what's paradoxical. This kind of care is often invisible on the surface. It does not arrive in flashy gifts, curated compliments, or polished manners. It flows from a deeper place, a man who has laid down his ego to be fully present with you. Want to test this? Imagine you've had a long day. You lie down quiet. He doesn't flood you with questions. He doesn't try to fix your mood with awkward jokes. He simply places his hand on your back, steady warm. Not too long, not too short, just enough to say, "I'm here, and you don't need to be anyone else right now." That is transformative love. Not the kind that burns fast like fire, but the kind that seeps in like water, slowly, warmly, deeply. The kind that lasts. Jung said this is love that doesn't come from the ego, but from the harmony of archetypes within, from a man in touch with his anima. When that happens, he no longer sees you as a mystery to solve. He sees you as a sacred presence to listen to and learn from. If you've ever felt that kind of love even once, share your story below. Not perfectly, not dramatically, just honestly. Tell us, when did you feel loved for simply being yourself? Let this space be a place where love like this is not called too sensitive, but true. Not idealistic, but archetypal. The deep soul's longing finally answered. Write in the comments, "I knew I was truly loved when..." Because love in its truest form doesn't shout in words or dazzle with gifts. It speaks in silent care, in the way someone holds you without asking you to be anything more than you already are. And yet the journey doesn't end here. There is a sacred moment many overlook: the space after intimacy. When movement ceases, but the heart still echoes. What happens then? Join me in part 3, the silence after intimacy, where real love begins to whisper. There is a kind of silence after lovemaking, not the silence of awkwardness or distance, but one that feels almost sacred. The body stills, but the soul continues to hum as if touched by something deeper than pleasure, deeper than desire, deeper than the physical, a resonance with the very pulse of life. Carl Jung once described these post-ecstatic moments as a kind of dream threshold, a liminal space where the unconscious is briefly allowed to rise into the light. When all masks have fallen away, when defenses are no longer necessary, what remains is the raw, unguarded truth. And it's here that you discover, is the man beside you truly connected, or has he simply completed a well-rehearsed performance? Some men, immediately after intimacy, retreat. They pull their hand away as if your skin has burned them. They turn their back, reach for their phone. They go quiet, but not the kind of quiet that soothes. A silence that chills the air, a silence that disconnects, and you feel it, no explanation needed. Your body knows, your soul knows. But there are other men who stay, not out of duty, not out of possessiveness. They stay like someone tending a slow-burning fire, a hand quietly tracing your spine, a breath syncing with yours, a gentle touch to your hair, whispering without words, "You're still here, and so am I." They don't need to say "I love you," because the nearness is the love. These moments, seemingly ordinary, are gateways to truth. Jung emphasized that in the twilight between consciousness and the unconscious, the soul reveals itself. After both bodies and psyches have let down their guards, what remains in that stillness is the strongest signal of how safe, how real, and how committed the connection truly is. Imagine this, Turinam. You wake from a strange dream in the middle of the night, and he doesn't grumble. He simply pulls you closer. He asks nothing. And somehow that gesture alone steadies your heart. You whisper something half-formed in the dark. He doesn't respond with analysis. He kisses your forehead, as if the world could stop right there and it would be enough. You shift and sigh, weighed down by a thought you didn't say aloud. He doesn't try to solve it. He breathes with you, so you don't have to carry it alone. This is the Jungian essence in daily life: presence without pressure, care without control, the sacred art of simply being with. True love doesn't demand grand gestures. It requires quiet courage, the bravery to stay after all has been revealed. If you've ever felt this just once, share your story below. Don't worry about being poetic. There's no such thing as a small story when it reveals a moment where you felt truly held, not just physically, but emotionally, spiritually. Write in the comments, the moment I felt truly close was when. Let this space be a sanctuary, a place where the truth of love is honored. No judgment, no perfection, only sincerity, only soul. Because after the movement ends, after the touch softens, after the words fade, real love lingers. It stays. And yet the story isn't over. There is still one final sign, subtle, profound, one only reached when two souls are fully in tune. The silent dance of two inner worlds, no plans, no scripts, just attunement, a rhythm shared without needing to be named. Come with me as we move into the final part of this journey, the quiet dance of two souls where the psyche becomes one. There is a kind of connection that needs no words, no grand gestures, no explanations. Just a silent dance, two souls moving together, almost without knowing they are dancing. It is not the kind of dance you do with your body. It is the rhythm you feel when both bodies, both hearts move as one. Carl Jung called this syzygy, the divine couple, an archetypal fusion of anima and animus, not by chance, but as a natural response from the unconscious, a place beyond planning, beyond logic, where the masculine and feminine meet and mirror each other in completion. And in everyday life, it appears subtly. A quiet morning, he pours you coffee, not out of routine, not because he asked, but simply because he felt it. There is no need for, "Do you want some?" In his eyes, care flows like a wordless melody, soft, unrehearsed, completely attuned. Or you're sitting together on the couch, breathing in sync, saying nothing, but somehow your heartbeat calms. You are not alone in the silence. You are held in it. This is unspoken resonance. It is not choreographed. It is not taught. It arrives when both have dropped their masks, when the anima in him and the animus in you have met, not just through eye contact or physical touch, but through the soul's eternal language. Jung reminded us anima and animus are not mere symbols. They are the bridge between the personal unconscious and the collective one, the path by which we find ourselves in the reflection of the other. Picture this. An afternoon, two people sketching nonsense on paperbacks, touching slightly, feet gently brushing, no words exchanged, yet a shared breath, a feeling that this is more than he's near me. This is two fragments of soul walking side by side. No resistance, no effort, just flow, just one shared emotional current. Jung called it complete union, but this union is not physical, it's spiritual. Love at its purest is a dance without choreography. There is no should we, no what do you want to do. There is only a letting go of ego, no more me, no more you, only us. Like the Tao speaks of the apex, the merging point between word and silence, action and stillness. Sometimes you may feel tears well up, not from sadness, but because the moment feels too real, too safe, and something inside finally softens. He looks at you, not with pity, not with questions, just presence. And you don't have to say anything, because your soul knows this is unconditional acceptance. These fragile moments are rarely praised, but they are sacred, because they prove that love does not need to speak to be heard. It simply exists. Jung believed that syzygy, the sacred union of anima and animus, is the final step in individuation. When two people truly meet, they don't just encounter each other. They meet themselves in the reflection of the one sitting before them. If you've ever experienced this, a moment of silent depth, where nothing needed to be said because everything was already understood, share your story below. In the comments write, the moment I felt silent resonance was when, Your story, no matter how small it seems, may soften a soul still searching for that feeling. Let this be a place where subtle truths are celebrated, where we learn to listen to silence as the most beautiful song in our shared human experience. Because between shared breaths, intertwined legs, and a gaze that doesn't ask permission, the final sign waits. It's more than harmony. It is the eternal rhythm between two souls where love needs no name, no grand display, just presence. Up next, part 5, the integration of all four signs. Where love becomes a soul language, the final alchemy, where gaze, empathy, presence, and resonance merge into a single light. He'll meet you there to explore what happens when love becomes wholeness. Across these four signs, the soul-piercing gaze, his joy in your joy, the intimacy after closeness, and the silent dance of two souls, you begin to sense something profound. Real love does not perform. It doesn't try to convince. It doesn't need to prove itself. It simply is. It arrives not through words, but through pure, unfiltered presence. And in this integration, when all signs converge, you begin to touch a deeper layer of the soul, where two individuals no longer remain separate, but step into a shared journey Carl Jung called individuation, the path toward becoming whole. Individuation is the sacred fusion of the conscious and unconscious, a process where one slowly gives birth to the self, the deepest archetype within, symbolizing total inner completeness. In love, when you see this reflected, when someone doesn't just look at you but sees you, doesn't just comfort you but feels with you, doesn't just stay after intimacy but holds you without need, when their breath moves in rhythm with yours, you don't just feel safe, you become more whole. Because love like this doesn't just heal, it guides, it grows, it transforms. Jung wrote, "Love is a force for growth toward wholeness." Let's bring this Jungian light into daily life. A quiet cough in the middle of the night, he doesn't panic or wake you fully. He gently pulls the blanket over your shoulders, and you feel held. An afternoon shared over coffee. You sigh from fatigue, not needing to explain. He doesn't ask why. He simply reaches for your hand, and somehow peace returns. That is the sacred dance of syzygy, the anima and animus, merging in harmony, giving rise to what Jung called the divine couple, a union, not of performance, but of presence, not of fantasy, but of truth. In this kind of love, the question is, are you okay? But rather, I'm here, and you are free to be fully yourself, even in silence. In moments like this, you are not just the loved one. You are a partner in each other's journey toward wholeness, where light meets shadow, where unconscious meets conscious. And maybe this is what we as Americans, so used to speed to words to action, have been quietly longing for, a love so still, so subtle, yet so powerful that it becomes the foundation upon which maturity is built. When you can say, "Hess not perfect, but he's becoming for me," that is individuated love, a love that not only nurtures connection, but lets that connection nurture both souls. If you've ever felt this even once, a quiet shift within yourself or your partner, not dramatic but undeniable, please share it. Write in the comments, "I felt real love when." It might be a quiet moment after a kiss or a hand held in morning silence. But trust me, these are the most sacred of all. Let this community be a space to celebrate the subtle, not loud, not flashy, but the kind of love that changes everything without trying to. And now that we've walked together through all four signs, you've come to feel what presence in love truly looks like. So take a moment, breathe deeply, let it settle. Because real love is not a spark. It's a slow, luminous flame, a long journey inward, not just a fleeting high. Are you ready now for the final closing and a soft invitation, where I'll help you gather every thread we've woven and gently offer a way for this kind of love to not just stay in a video, but become a part of your life. As you step away from this silent classroom we've created together, I invite you to carry just one thing with you. Real love is not spoken. It is breathed. It's felt in a gaze, in a still moment, in the quiet harmony between two souls. This is not something you learn from grand promises or glossy romance. It's something you feel in the unconscious, signals a gaze that doesn't wander, a smile that doesn't try a patient silence when words are no longer needed, the soundless music of presence. Carl Jung once said, "Each of us must become whole." This path individuation is not about becoming perfect, but about holding our light and our shadow and still being worthy of love. True love doesn't spotlight the polished parts of us. It holds the unfinished ones, too, in ourselves and in the other. So when you recognize these deeper signs, a soul-seeing gaze, joy in your joy, the sacred closeness after intimacy, the silent dance of two souls, you're not just falling in love. You're building a more complete inner universe. Can you remember a moment in your relationship when you no longer wanted to be anyone else but yourself? Perhaps it was a quiet morning sunlight slipping through the blinds and he simply held your hand in silence. Or maybe you laughed at something silly and his eyes lit up, not performatively, but with genuine joy. If that happened, you've touched the essence of love few ever name. Let this kind of love guide you deeper, not into another person, but into your own soul. Learn to notice the soft signs, honor the unspoken emotions, celebrate them as sacred symbols, the unconscious meeting the conscious, self-embracing self. Because when you love like this gently, deeply, without control, you're not just connecting to another, you're connecting to your truest self. If these words move something in you, I invite you to share. Leave a comment below just one moment, however small, when love felt real. Even if it was silent, even if it was fleeting. Join this growing community where quiet stories aren't dismissed and where your presence is welcome just as you are. Subscribe not for noise, but for continued depth, for the journey inward and the quiet revolution of loving with your whole being. Thank you for spending this time with me. If this video brought you a sliver of peace, a quiet recognition, a new way of seeing love, then even for a moment the purpose was fulfilled. And if you wish to walk further, if you too believe that love is not something grand, but something humble lived honestly, leave me a sign below, a quiet heart, a discreet subscription, a shared memory in the comments. Until we meet again, hold this moment gently within. And when you return for healing, for reflection, for deeper love, I'll be here, in silence, in presence, in Jung's gaze, waiting to walk with you again.